What if I told you that for 3 mornings in a row, just 3, you could feel every burden you've carried, every curse you thought was permanent, start to lift from your body instantly? You might think it's impossible, you might be skeptical, but the truth is there's a method to this madness, a simple sequence that has the power to reset your energy, your focus, your very life. On the mornings of the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of January, you will do one thing: drink this. And when you do, understand this. It's not magic in the fantastical sense. It's a ritual, a deliberate act, a tiny but profound demonstration of your capacity to take control of your own destiny. The body remembers intention, the mind responds to discipline, and the soul, well, it awakens when you show up day after day for yourself. Performing an action on 3 consecutive days is far more than a simple habit. It taps into the fundamental way human beings orient themselves in time and structure their lives. When we act repeatedly over a short, defined period, our brain begins to anticipate the event, and our body synchronizes with the rhythm we establish. This alignment between mind and body is not arbitrary. It is a physiological and psychological phenomenon rooted in repetition and expectation. The act of showing up consistently, especially over a limited but significant span like 3 days, signals to ourselves that this is a priority, something worthy of attention, and this in turn activates neural pathways associated with discipline, focus, and intentional change. In essence, the ritual becomes a small but powerful declaration. We are capable of governing our own actions, shaping our responses, and taking control of outcomes that may have previously felt beyond our reach. Moreover, performing the same action at the same time each day, particularly in the morning when the mind is fresh and the body is most receptive, amplifies the effect, creating a sense of order and stability. This consecutive practice also cultivates an awareness of cause and effect, where the mind begins to notice subtle changes in energy, mood, and perception as a result of the repeated act. It is through this structure that the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary. A simple morning routine becomes a ritual that carries symbolic and practical power. By committing to this sequence, even for a mere 3 days, we reinforce the idea that meaningful change does not require grand gestures or lengthy timelines, but arises from consistent, deliberate action. The body and mind, through repeated engagement, start to embody the very transformation we seek, creating a resonance between intention and experience that no single act could achieve on its own. The idea of symbolic cleansing is deeply rooted in human psychology and culture, representing more than a physical act. It is a tangible manifestation of our desire to release negativity and reset our inner state. When we drink a specific remedy or perform a deliberate action with focused intention, the body interprets this as a moment of transition, a break from the patterns that have held us back. Symbolism matters because the human mind responds not only to the literal effect of an action but also to what it signifies. Drinking something with the conscious aim of cleansing yourself of burdens creates a mental and emotional framework in which change is possible. The ritual transforms an ordinary act, lifting a cup to your lips, into a deliberate signal that you are actively choosing to let go of what no longer serves you. Across cultures and traditions, symbolic cleansing has been central to rites of passage, purification, and spiritual awakening, illustrating that the mind and body are intertwined in how we process and release negativity. The mere act of performing a repeated intentional ritual sends a message to the subconscious that something significant is occurring, allowing patterns of stress, fear, or stagnation to begin to dissolve. Even if the liquid itself has no extraordinary properties, the act of mindful consumption can alter your perception of energy and mood, creating a sense of renewal and clarity. Symbolic cleansing works because humans operate in layers of consciousness: the physical, the emotional, and the symbolic. When these layers align through a purposeful act, the effect is felt not only in the body but in the mind and spirit, reinforcing a sense of agency and control. It becomes a conduit for transformation, demonstrating that change often begins not with external circumstances, but with intentional, meaningful gestures that embody the release and renewal we seek. The connection between mind and body is far more profound than most people realize, extending well beyond simple cause and effect. Every thought, intention, and belief carries with it a subtle physiological response, influencing heart rate, hormone levels, and even cellular function. When we engage in a deliberate action with conscious intent, such as drinking a specific remedy with the aim of releasing negativity, we are not merely performing a physical act. We are signaling to the body that a shift is occurring. The brain interprets intentional behaviors as meaningful, prompting biochemical and neurological responses that reinforce the desired effect. For instance, the act of consciously drinking something with the expectation of cleansing or releasing tension can reduce cortisol, enhance focus, and even create a sense of lightness or clarity, because the mind has prepared the body to respond in alignment with the intention. This interplay is not hypothetical. It is grounded in research showing that expectation, mindfulness, and ritual can produce measurable changes in physiology and emotional state. The body remembers these signals, creating neural patterns that strengthen with repetition, which is why performing the act over several days amplifies its effect. Moreover, this connection highlights the importance of awareness in every action we take. The mind does not operate in isolation, and the body does not act without context. Through conscious, repeated action, we train both systems simultaneously, establishing a feedback loop in which intention shapes physiology and physiology reinforces intention. In essence, the body becomes a living canvas on which the mind can project change, and the mind, in turn, interprets the body's responses as confirmation of transformation. Recognizing and utilizing this connection allows us to harness ordinary acts to produce extraordinary effects, demonstrating that true change is never purely physical or purely mental, but arises from their intricate, dynamic interaction. Psychological commitment is a powerful force in shaping human behavior, and it operates on levels far deeper than simple willpower. When we make a conscious decision to act at a specific time, such as committing to perform a ritual on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of January, we are engaging not only our conscious mind, but also our subconscious. The subconscious mind thrives on patterns, predictability, and repeated cues, and by establishing a fixed schedule, we create a framework in which change becomes more natural and more attainable. This commitment is not merely about remembering to do something. It is about signaling to ourselves that we have the capacity and authority to set intentions and see them through. Once the mind knows that an action is scheduled and unavoidable, it begins to prepare the body and the psyche to respond. Hormones, attention, and focus begin to align with the anticipated task, effectively priming the system for the intended transformation. Furthermore, committing to a specific date creates a sense of accountability, even if that accountability exists only between oneself and the self. The awareness that a moment has been chosen and that the act must occur imbues the ritual with significance far beyond the physical act itself. This sense of meaning strengthens the psychological impact, making the experience more vivid, more memorable, and more transformative. The process also cultivates patience, discipline, and resilience, because it demonstrates that meaningful change is rarely instantaneous. It arises from deliberate, repeated action, reinforced by expectation and preparation. In this way, psychological commitment serves as both a motivational and structural mechanism. By choosing the exact days for a transformative act, we create a temporal anchor that guides attention, fosters anticipation, and heightens the intensity of experience. The mind, body, and spirit are all drawn into alignment around this commitment, and as a result, the act becomes more than a simple habit. It becomes a ritual capable of producing tangible, perceivable change. Through the power of deliberate scheduling, intention, and repetition, psychological commitment ensures that transformation is not left to chance, but becomes a directed, controlled process, actively shaping the trajectory of both perception and experience. Now, if you're ready to witness this transformation, pause for a moment, make a commitment to yourself, and prepare. Because when you do this 3 mornings in a row, you're not just drinking a remedy, you're telling every curse, every limiting belief, that it no longer has permission to stay in your life. Throughout history, cultures around the world have relied on rituals and repeated actions to break negative patterns and release unwanted energies, illustrating the profound impact of structured practice on the human psyche. These rituals, often performed over consecutive days, are not arbitrary. They serve as a bridge between the physical and symbolic, giving form to what is otherwise invisible, the weight of curses, misfortune, or mental burdens. By engaging in a deliberate sequence of actions, individuals signal to themselves and their communities that transformation is possible and that they are actively participating in that change. The repetition over consecutive days creates a rhythm that the mind and body can attune to, reinforcing the intention behind the act. In many traditions, 3-day ceremonies are common because the number 3 represents completion, balance, and alignment. It is a period long enough to establish continuity, but short enough to maintain focus and energy. Performing a ritual across several days also allows subtle changes to emerge gradually, giving the individual time to notice shifts in perception, mood, and internal energy. Moreover, these cultural practices underscore the idea that human beings respond not only to the literal effects of their actions, but also to their symbolic meaning. A ritual is powerful because it transforms ordinary behavior into an extraordinary experience, where the mind recognizes significance and the body responds accordingly. Whether in spiritual, cultural, or psychological contexts, the repeated intentional act of performing a ritual across consecutive days demonstrates that meaningful change does not happen randomly. It is cultivated through structured, deliberate practice. By drawing on the wisdom of historical precedents, modern individuals can harness the same principle, understanding that consistency, symbolism, and timing combine to break cycles, release negativity, and create a tangible sense of renewal and transformation. Morning routines have an extraordinary influence on the way energy flows through our lives, setting the tone for everything that follows throughout the day. The first moments after waking are a period of heightened receptivity, when the mind is fresh, uncluttered, and more capable of establishing patterns that influence behavior, mood, and focus. Engaging in a deliberate act, such as drinking a specific remedy with conscious intention, transforms these early hours into a moment of energetic reset. By performing this act consistently over consecutive mornings, you signal to yourself that the day ahead will be approached with purpose, clarity, and control. The body, responding to both habit and expectation, begins to align with the rhythm established by the routine, creating a sense of stability and coherence that extends beyond the act itself. This alignment is more than symbolic. It impacts hormones, neural activity, and even subtle energy states, producing measurable shifts in alertness, mood, and resilience. When a morning begins with intention, it establishes a baseline from which all subsequent actions are filtered, making it easier to resist distractions, maintain focus, and approach challenges with composure. Moreover, performing a conscious, repeated act in the morning embeds a sense of ritual into the day, reinforcing personal discipline and reminding the mind that transformation is possible through deliberate, consistent choices. Even a simple act, repeated with focus and awareness, carries profound implications for how the body and mind operate together. By treating the morning as an opportunity to reset energetically, you are not just creating a habit, you are cultivating a framework in which every day becomes an opportunity for renewal, growth, and alignment with the goals, intentions, and changes you wish to manifest. This principle demonstrates that small, consistent morning actions can have cascading effects, shaping not only individual days, but also long-term patterns of well-being and personal transformation. Focus and mindfulness are essential components of any meaningful transformation because they allow us to fully inhabit the actions we perform and the intentions we set. When we engage in a deliberate act, such as drinking a specific remedy with the conscious aim of releasing negativity, the simple physical action becomes imbued with purpose, drawing attention to the present moment and heightening awareness of internal states. This process requires the mind to quiet distractions and direct its energy toward observing sensations, emotions, and thoughts as they arise, fostering a sense of control over how we respond to both internal and external stimuli. Mindfulness in action transforms ordinary behaviors into rituals that carry psychological weight, signaling to the brain that what we are doing is significant and worthy of attention. Focus, paired with repeated practice, strengthens neural pathways associated with attention, intention, and emotional regulation, creating a feedback loop in which the mind becomes increasingly capable of sustaining deliberate, purposeful engagement. As we perform these acts with awareness, subtle shifts occur. Tension in the body may release, emotional patterns become more noticeable, and habitual thought loops begin to loosen. Over consecutive days, the act of mindful engagement compounds, reinforcing the idea that transformation is not a sudden, external event, but a gradual alignment of attention, intention, and action. By approaching even a simple ritual with full presence, we teach the mind and body to recognize and respond to cues of change, creating a fertile environment for both psychological and physiological transformation. In this way, focus and mindfulness act as amplifiers of the ritual itself, turning what might seem like an ordinary, routine action into a powerful mechanism for releasing negativity, heightening awareness, and fostering lasting inner clarity and resilience. Transformation through small actions is one of the most profound principles of personal growth. Yet it is often overlooked because it challenges our instinct to seek dramatic, immediate results. True change rarely arrives suddenly. It emerges gradually through deliberate, repeated behaviors that, over time, shape perception, habit, and identity. Every small intentional act carries a ripple effect, influencing not just the moment in which it occurs, but also the subsequent actions, decisions, and mental states that follow. When a person commits to performing a specific ritual, such as drinking a remedy on 3 consecutive mornings, they are engaging in an act that may appear minor on the surface, yet its significance lies in the discipline and intention behind it. Each repetition strengthens the neural pathways associated with focus, intentionality, and self-regulation, reinforcing the mind-body connection and embedding the behavior into the subconscious. Small actions also serve as tangible proof of agency. They demonstrate that even the most modest decisions are capable of producing measurable effects on mood, energy, and perception. Over time, these cumulative acts create a sense of mastery and confidence, showing that personal transformation is not reserved for extraordinary circumstances, but is accessible through consistent, deliberate effort. Moreover, small actions reduce resistance to change. Large, abstract goals can feel overwhelming, triggering procrastination or self-doubt, whereas manageable repeated steps provide a clear path forward and immediate feedback. The act of performing a simple ritual with intention becomes a microcosm of broader transformation. It is a demonstration that change is possible, that the individual has the power to influence their own state, and that consistent effort, even in small increments, produces real results. In addition, these small actions carry symbolic weight, reinforcing belief in the process and the capacity for growth. When they are performed with focus and awareness, they accumulate not just physically, but psychologically, creating momentum that propels the individual toward larger, more profound transformations. Ultimately, transformation through small actions teaches that the extraordinary often arises from the ordinary, and that persistent, intentional behavior is the most reliable pathway to lasting change in both mind and body. In conclusion, what we have explored is not a matter of magic or superstition, but of deliberate, conscious action, small, repeated steps taken with intention that ripple through the mind, body, and spirit. By committing to this simple ritual over 3 consecutive mornings, you are engaging in a practice that aligns your energy, sharpens your focus, and creates a space for release and renewal. Each act, though seemingly modest, carries profound significance because it demonstrates your capacity to take control of your own transformation, to break patterns that no longer serve you, and to signal to your subconscious that change is not only possible, but inevitable. The power lies not in the remedy itself, but in the discipline, mindfulness, and commitment you bring to the act. As the days unfold, you will begin to notice subtle shifts, burdens lifting, clarity emerging, and a deeper awareness of your own agency. This is a reminder that transformation does not happen all at once. It grows from repeated, intentional behaviors, from the courage to show up consistently, and from the willingness to participate fully in the process of change. By embracing this ritual, you are taking the first steps toward reclaiming your energy, reshaping your mindset, and freeing yourself from the invisible constraints that hold you back. It is a call to recognize that every small, purposeful action matters, and that through consistency and conscious effort, the extraordinary is achieved not in a single moment, but in the accumulation of deliberate acts that align your mind, body, and spirit with the life you are capable of creating.